Hello, this is Chance Dunlap down here in Tyler, Texas, and I've got a fishing lure here that has really captured my imagination. These baits have been attributed to a maker named Tom Shepard of Colon, Michigan, at least since 1995. They were published in Dudley Murphy and Rick Edmisten's very classic collectible fishing lures book that was available in multiple editions, has been sold, hundreds of thousands of copies throughout those editions, and is still considered as a very relevant fishing lure collecting book. That, to be honest with you, I still open up just about every single day, one of its various editions, and even the modern era version of it. But the opportunity to acquire a few of these baits was an opportunity I really couldn't pass up. I just kind of had to make it happen for my own collection. These present, problems that us folk art fishing lure collectors deal with all the time. Where are you sure that who they say made it? Or the parts all homemade, or some of them from factory baits. There's lots of things going on in these lures to consider and ponder, and it's really a fun and even, to be honest, kind of stressful research project at times. But for the love of it, you keep going, and hope eventually to open some new doorways, and make revelations for a positive outcome for the whole hobby, and especially for us that collect these kind of homemade kind of fishing lures. This particular piece has everything going. Has this big yellow cork head. This thing measures about 5.5 inches overall in length. So it's about the same size as the big giant Heddon 700 musky minnows. Matter of fact, the rear propeller on this lure is actually a 700 prop. It's a marked one. It says Heddon Dowagic on it. It has the front of the bearing was cut off for whatever reason. This prop could not have been possible probably until 1912 at least, because that's when Heddon had switched to marking the props from not marking them prior to that time. The 700 is a very classic lure. It measures about 5 inches in body length. So with the head and body of this, they are about the size of this bait altogether. Those 700s were made, I think, until about 1928. I am not a specific Heddon expert, but researching homemade fishing lures really forces you to go dive in and understand a lot of those lures more in depth. This particular bait has a lot of metal, a lot of homemade metal pieces, simple soldered wire, flat sheet metal pieces that have been bent and secured by screws. Has this plate on the side to protect this apparatus. I don't want to mess with this too much, but here in a video would be a good opportunity to document what this thing can do, because ever since I got that Murphy Edmisten book, probably about in like 2010, I have been absolutely captivated by these particular baits and that kind of mousetrap action that it mentioned that they have. And so this arm goes through the body. You get this soldered hooks here and here, little spring wire going through there, and you actually pull this back. And if you're very careful, you can hook these on this little wire clip, and this hook goes forward and secures the hook. So I'm not going to set it, but it does function. I have set it, but I don't want to damage it. These things are desirable in the realm of fishing lure collecting, so I don't want to risk causing irreparable damage by messing around with it too much. But the paint was probably kind of silver. It's got some old varnish that's kind of turned yellow on it. It's just a really cool fishing lure. The body isn't just round and lathe turned, it's hand carved. It's a really fat in the bottom. Even here in the back where this metal plate is, it has a wide kind of flat section. I don't know, you can kind of see it there. And even the front shoulder kind of has this, it's a little wider and kind of flattened there on the belly. Has a big cup hardware in the underside. What's interesting is in that Murphy Edmisten book, there's another similar spring-loaded mechanism bait by this same maker that has what would be the rear prop off of a Hedden 700, because the bearing is reversed on it, has the flatter, wider part on the front of the blade. So that's kind of an interesting thing, that perhaps he probably made those two lures, kind of together, and robbed parts off of something else to do it. I have not been able to verify the specific age of this. All I can go on is what's documented in the book. I've talked to some other collectors that have had some experience in the time frame these would have been found, and even discovered some of the other lures. Like there's a couple of moths, there's a big white bird, and some other kind of funky mechanical kind of baits to go along with those more just strict kind of sculptural forms. And it's an ongoing research project that likely will never fully resolve, but it's possible. But I really love these. Might as well look at the other two that I have real quick while we're on here. This one has almost the same body as the mechanical piece. It's big, kind of wide, carved, fat body. Has this carved wood propeller in the belly. It actually has a copper plate that's bent on both ends, and it bends up into that. That's something that, it's hard to see from a picture in a book. Again, the paint is simple, has glass eyes. Not really sure, but it's kind of styled after the famous Immel Chippewa bait from Wisconsin, but clearly with the wooden propeller that's round, like a piece of a spindle or something. There's actually a couple of other pieces in the book that have these spindles as well. Pretty neat, all in all. And then also have this kind of butterfly or moth piece. It actually has a handmade prop, which is, simple soldered, just kind of squared off and bent. Has a hook cup on the back side, or, whichever side that is, that doesn't have a hook. A little nice shaping going on in the way that was cut out. It might be made from one solid piece. It's fit so well, if it's not, that it's hard to tell that it wouldn't be all carved from one piece of wood. I don't have a way to tell without maybe getting an X-ray. But I think these are really cool baits that enhance my collection, and are definitely taking me on a journey with my research. So all right, if you happen to know anything or find anything, anything about Colon, Michigan, and its history of fishing tackle, and Colon's only about an hour from Dowagiac, which is where Hedden was based. So I think some of the similarities to these and some of the classic Hedden baits, it's an uncanny similarity and relationship. I just don't know. But it is what it is at this time. Thanks for watching.